Hi, I'm Kirby Allison, and in today's video, I'm going to answer some of your questions that you posted on our YouTube videos. Thank you to everyone that has posted a question in the comments section of our videos. I love these. I try to get back to as many as possible, but in our Q&A videos, I like to take these questions and answer them a little bit more in depth. Up first is a question from JA, and it's from our What Videos Do You Want to See Us Do Next poll that we posted on our YouTube community board. If you aren't a subscriber to our channel, you won't see our posts on our community board, so make sure you've subscribed. His question is actually a really good question that is totally outside the scope of a Q&A we'll answer today, but this could be a video in and of itself. And it is, how do you spot a bespoke or high quality suit at a glance? He's seen stuff from Hugo, Giacome, and Sonia at Sartorial Talks, who have a great channel. If you don't subscribe to that, you should also. And it's a good question. I think that whenever I think of bespoke suit, it really comes down to fit. More than anything else, fit is really the hallmark of a properly cut bespoke suit. Now, a lot of made-to-measure companies now can easily replicate the handwork, but on a proper bespoke suit that is bench-made, it is cut by the tailor that makes or takes your measurements. And it's having that tailor, that maestro, that that artisan that has really devoted his entire life to his craft. That knowledge, that intuition, and that skill is what allows him to understand the fabric, understand your body, and then cut something that is going to fit beautifully. Now, of course, all of the handwork needs to come along with that, and that is what certainly contributes to the longevity of a suit and the durability of a bespoke suit. But whenever I think of spotting a suit at a glance, really what I'm looking at more than anything else is that fit. Now, what are the elements of fit that are really important in a bespoke suit? Just quickly, there's three that I can think of that are really important. First is, how well does the collar sit around the neck? A proper bespoke suit should really hug the neck and be well seated to the shoulders because that is what controls the entire drape of a jacket. Now, one of the ways to spot a suit that doesn't fit well is one that just simply lifts up on the back of the collar. Even whenever you're moving around, if a jacket is beginning to kind of lift back from the collar and gape right there, that is certainly one of the telltale signs of a suit that is not bespoke made. Now, some suits, if you lift them up high enough, are always going to go back a little bit, but again, a properly cut and a well-fitting bespoke suit should really hug the back of the neck quite well. Second is drape of the back. Again, one of the hallmarks of a beautifully well-cut bespoke suit is that whenever you see the back of it, it really conforms to the silhouette of the person that's wearing it. It's not wrinkling, it's not bagging. You really just want to see that fabric just drape beautifully down the back of the person. That is, again, one of the beautiful hallmarks of a bespoke suit. It's much more easily said than done, but whenever you see a bespoke tailor nail that, boy, is it something to look at. And finally, I think another really easy way to identify a bespoke suit from something that's not bespoke is the drape of the sleeve. How the sleeve attaches at the shoulder, right at the armhole, is something that, again, can be adjusted normally only during the bespoke process. Some really high-end made-to-measure stuff might adjust that a little bit. The reason that that is important is because we all hang our arms at different angles off of our body. And whenever you're standing in your natural pose, you want that sleeve drape to really match how your arms drape. If they're not matched well, for instance, if you hold your arms back a little bit, then you're going to end up with a bunch of wrinkling. Same thing if your arms are a little bit farther forward, you're going to end up with a bunch of wrinkling. On a beautifully tailored bespoke suit, the bespoke tailor, during the fitting process, is really adjusting the drape of the sleeve to match your natural body stance. So those are a few of the small things. Of course, there's so much more we could go into this. This is a great suggestion for a video. And JA, thank you so much for asking this question. Our next question is from our $400 versus $1,300 shoes, a black cap-toe Oxford comparison video. This is one of our most popular videos. I think it's pushing 1 million views. And in this video, we compare a pair of Allen Edmonds to a pair of Carmina's, to a pair of Graziano and Girlings and a pair of Edward Greens. So we take 4 shoes ranging from a $400 pair of Allen Edmonds all the way up to a $1,300 pair of Edward Greens, and then really dive into the nuanced differences that really differentiate the quality at those 2 very different price points. If you're interested in learning more about the elements of quality and craftsmanship that go into a high quality pair of dress shoes, this is a great video to watch. Now this gentleman's question reads, "Hello Mr. Allison, do you know if I can get a bespoke pair of shoes here in the United States?" So that's a great question. Of course, whenever the European shoemakers are able to travel to the United States, you can absolutely find shoemakers that come here. Now, right now, because of COVID and the travel restrictions, it's a little bit more difficult because there just isn't an industry of bespoke shoemakers here in the United States. It's just not one of our traditions. Now, if you're looking for a pair of bespoke cowboy boots or custom cowboy boots, there are a plethora of custom cowboy boot makers here, and you can take a look at our videos with Lee Miller. Again, a very popular series that we have with one of the most well-renowned bootmakers in the entire world. Now, whenever it comes to custom or bespoke dress shoes, of course, if you're traveling to London, if you're traveling to Paris, it's very easy to have a pair of dress shoes made. But let's be honest, most of us aren't traveling to England or Europe that often. Now, luckily, most of these bespoke shoemakers travel to the United States 2 or 3 times a year on a trunk show schedule. George Cleverly, John Lobb, Dominic Casey, Nicholas Templeman, Graziano and Girling, Daniel Wiegand, all of these incredibly well-respected bespoke shoemakers travel to a lot of major cities around the United States. The best thing to do is, of course, follow these people on Instagram, go to their websites, send them emails, and if they're not visiting your city, then you might have to travel to Dallas or to New York or to Los Angeles to meet with them, but it's certainly better than having to book a ticket all the way to London. But if you're looking for an excuse to travel to London, of course, visiting your shoemaker is a great one, and I have to be honest, it's one that I've used a few times myself. Up next, we have a question from Stephen Robb on our My Custom Cowboy Boots Are Almost Done. This is one of those videos with Lee Miller that I was discussing about. And before we get started with this question, I'll give you a quick update on my boots. Of course, everyone that watched this video knows that Lee is done with my lasts. We went down to Austin, Texas to see these lasts, to have him talk through them. And we spoke this week, and he said that he's working on drafting the artwork for the uppers of my boots and should be sending me those soon. So once I see the artwork kind of sketched out, then I can approve that, or if we need to make any changes to that, we will. And once I send those back to Lee, he'll be able to begin these boots. Now, we plan to go back to Austin to film the actual making of the shaft of the boot because so much beautiful work goes in to that area of the boot. It's very special and very unique. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping that by June, hopefully I should have these boots. It's been a long wait, but it's been well worth it. So if you're watching this video for the first time and you have not subscribed, hit that red subscribe button. Otherwise, you'll miss whenever we release that video. Now, this question is a question that we receive really quite often, and that is, whenever you have a pair of bespoke shoes made, do you own the last, or is there a restriction as to who, like another bootmaker, can use that last? Do bespoke shoemakers actually own the last they make? So this is a great question. Really the answer is that the last, in many ways, is the intellectual property of the shoemaker. I've never heard of another bespoke shoemaker allowing a client to take the last to someone else. It just wouldn't be appropriate. They were the ones that really put their work into that last. It's a product of their eye, their artisanship, and it's really unique to the maker. And to take that to someone else really just wouldn't be respectful, to be completely honest. And I've never heard of anyone else allowing that. Of course, now a few stories about this. Now, there's probably no shoemaker in the world that has as large of an archive of bespoke shoe lasts as John Lobb. Now, rumor is that after a certain number of years, 10 years, if a customer hasn't placed an order, those lasts are actually moved outside of their St. James premises to an offsite storage area where they're held. And if enough time passes by, or if they learn that the customer has passed away, the oldest living member of the Lobb family, John Hunter Lobb, will actually take those lasts and burn them in his fire as firewood. So they are certainly not interested in allowing anyone else to use those lasts, and they are absolutely product of the bespoke shoemaker. Our next question is from Maurice Z, and this is on our top 5 dress shoes Q&A video. And it's regarding the resoling of Bespoke shoes, which is $600 really isn't so bad considering the original cost of the shoe. I was wondering though, is your service able to handle fiddleback or beveled waist found on some of the ready-to-wear shoes? So this is a great question. Now, resoling a pair of Bespoke shoes is expensive. I absolutely unequivocally recommend sending the Bespoke shoes back to the Bespoke maker where the original last can be reinserted into the shoes and that a proper Bespoke shoemaker can actually do the resoling. You know, and given the amount of money that you pay to invest in a pair of Bespoke shoes, you know, easily $3,000 if not more, you would absolutely want to send them back to the original maker to do that. Now that said, one of the benefits of a Bespoke pair of shoes is the fact that all of the outsoles are of the highest quality oak bark tanned, and then during the making process, they'll actually soak the outsoles in water for several days to loosen the pores up, and then take a hammer and spend an hour or two hammering the outsole to further compress those fibers down. The result is a very dense fiber structure to the outsoles that makes them last significantly longer than the equivalent pair of ready-to-wear shoes. So actually, resoling a pair of Bespoke shoes is quite rare. I mean, you can easily go 10 or 15 years without having to resole them, depending on how often you're wearing them. So that is one of the benefits. I mean, I would be surprised that if a Bespoke pair of shoes ever saw 2 resolings in its life, that would be surprising. Now for your ready-to-wear stuff, your machine-made, your Goodyear welted shoes, we have an excellent restoration program. It's our certified Kirby Allison shoe restoration program, where we have a 3rd-generation cobbler, easily one of the best cobblers here in the United States, exclusively do all of our work. In creating this program, I really drew inspiration on the high-end English Goodyear welted factories and how they do their resoling. There's no question the quality is just exceptional. So we use exclusively JR oak bark tanned leather outsoles. It's the highest quality, very similar to the quality that you would find in a Bespoke pair of shoes. You can have it done with just regular stitching that you can see like on a pair of Allen Edmonds, but for a small upcharge we'll do invisible channel stitching where you have the beautifully smooth finished outsole where you can't even see the stitching. So in our program, of course, we can take care of those fiddle-backed waists, those narrow waists, really any pair of Goodyear welted factory-made shoes, even the highest end ones we can take care of. And as a small aside, we actually sent our cobbler, Jim McFarlane, to the Graziano Girling factory outside of London in Northampton or Kettering to train at the factory for a day. So he is certainly very capable of taking care of even the highest end ready-to-wear shoes. Last question today is from Jonathan Fernandez. This is on our Savile Row walking tour, another fantastic video, one of my favorites. In this video, we take a tour down Savile Row, popping into several of the various houses to talk to them about their house styles and just talk to them about the house. So if you're interested in learning more about the different makers on Savile Row, or maybe you've never even been to Savile Row and are curious what that's all about, this Savile Row walking tour is a great video, as is our German Street walking tour and our Piccadilly Arcade walking tour. All great videos. So this question reads, thanks for making this video. Bespoke suit fan for 10 years and had to search through forums to understand the different cuts from each house. This is a great question, and I really love it because it gets into the nuanced differences between houses. A lot of people think that a bespoke suit is just a bespoke suit, but the reality is that a properly made bespoke suit really is the product of an artisan. It's a product of a bespoke cutter that has his own house style, his own peculiarities about how he cuts. Even within the same house, say Huntsman, that has 3 bespoke cutters, each one of those cutters is going to cut their suits slightly different than the other. So every suit has its own signature, its own DNA, if you will, that is unique to the person that made it. Now, there are huge differences amongst the houses, and we try to get into that in our Savile Row walking tour, is meeting with some of the principal makers on Savile Row, some of the better known ones, and having them talk about their house styles. So this video is a great way to familiarize yourself with the various house styles of the Savile Row makers, and if anything else, it'll certainly showcase the spectrum of differences that you can find between makers. One of the criteria that one should use in selecting a proper bespoke suit maker is whether or not they like their house style. If you enjoy certainly a more flamboyant or slightly more fashionable aesthetic, there's Joe Morgan at Chittleboro & Morgan who does exceptional work, but it's a little bit loud. It pushes the edge a little bit. If you want something that is certainly more conservative, more traditional, you've got Henry Poole. If you want something that is a little bit more structured, has slightly stronger shoulders, a little bit more waist suppression, then you've got Huntsman. And then, of course, there's Anderson & Shepherd for the classic kind of draped look. There's so many options. It's what's fun. And really, if you're someone that has a large wardrobe of bespoke suits, you can even go to more than one tailor. Maybe you have your double-breasted suits made from Anderson & Shepherd and your single-breasted suits made from Henry Poole. And maybe you even grab, I don't know, an overcoat or a dinner jacket from Huntsman. I don't know. That's what's fun about having clothes made, is really the experience. Now, if you're looking for more details about the differences in the cut, Simon Crompton of Promo Style actually just released an exceptional book that dives directly into this topic. It's called Bespoke Style. It's available on KirbyAllison.com. We're the only ones here in the United States that have it. And in this book, he takes several of the suits that he had made. This is the list of them all right here. And specifically, in a very, really objective, kind of quantitative way, compares the house styles of all these firms. So you have, of course, Richard Anderson, Henry Poole, Anderson & Shepherd, Huntsman, Chittleboro & Morgan, Edward Sexton, Catherine Sargent, who was the first female cutter to run her own house, Deege and Skinner, Stephen Hitchcock, Geeves and Hawks, Tom Sweeney, and then these are the English ones, and he actually also compares the French makers, Comte de Luca, Cifanelli, and the Italian ones. So if you're looking to kind of get a large survey of the different bespoke makers and some of the nuanced differences between their cuts, this book is a must-read. So there we have it. Thank you for all of your questions. Of course, the best way to be featured in one of our Q&A videos is simply to just ask a question or leave a comment on any one of our videos here on our YouTube channel. Now, if you enjoyed this video, the next video that I would suggest you watch is our Savile Row walking tour. It's one of my favorites, and it'll take you into these different London houses that we just spoke about. I'm Kirby Allison, and I love to help the well-dressed acquire and care for their wardrobes while exploring the world of quality, craftsmanship, and tradition. Thanks for watching.